Welcome back to the Cruise Elite podcast. What's up, Tony?
Happy 2026 to you.
You too. And I'm talking in my new fancy mic. Thanks to you.
I'm so excited. So for the listeners, a couple days ago, we had a call where we got to set up all of the mics that he just got. He just got a brand new audio setup that I helped recommend. And so for me, it was kind of like secondhand Christmas. Like I saw the picture of all the boxes and then he opens all the gear. We're setting it up. So that was super exciting.
Yeah, and I feel good about it too, because remember I was joking before, because, we've been doing this together now. Boy, bear with me as I don't have too great of a sense of time on this whole podcast thing. But I mean, we're like at what, couple years? Almost 2 years?
Jeez.
It's like almost maybe 2 years. Maybe it is.
Wow.
I'll have to ask Alicia. She knows time. I ask her for time.
I don't understand time.
It's wild though, because I still feel like, man, we're just getting going here.
That's how I feel too.
And I feel like, I remember I was joking before that I felt like, I was the client, right? And I was thinking about what it's like working with a client, for personal training and stuff. And it's like, how many experiences have I had with the client who sticks around long enough that you're able to really introduce them to a lot of good stuff and you feel like you're getting to educate them. And then it comes time that come on, you got to buy equipment because you're graduating here.
Yeah.
Like we're making progress. You're getting better. Like you got to move past that 25-pound kettlebell that you've had for 3 years. And I felt like I was the client that was lagging behind because I was still using the same equipment setup. So I'm fired up because I can notice a difference for sure. Yeah. And it's nice to have, professional setup here. And it's not done. We got to, there's more to do. I was talking about getting some lights and stuff but it's fun, it's cool and exciting.
Yeah, for what it's worth, you're a good student, and I definitely didn't feel like you were lagging behind. But
thank you.
With what you've got now, you're set up. This will be a great audio setup for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I used it. So yesterday was my first time using it, and I did a Zoom call. So I had a Zoom call client in the morning. That was the first time I tried it, and then a few hours later, I had a call with our community. So inside our membership, and, I mentioned it to them and showed them the equipment stuff. And many of them were like, man, that's awesome. Like it sounds crisp. Like I definitely notice a difference. And then I was joking and I was like, what Tony told me is that some people are going to love it and be like, wow, this is an incredible upgrade. And other people, it's going to be like, womp, womp. Like I don't really notice a difference. Yeah. Right. And so I made that, I was joking on the call and I was like, that's what Tony said it's going to be like. And several people in the chat box were like, oh, I can totally tell. It's awesome. So I get off the live call and I go downstairs and Alicia's like, well, how'd the call go? And I was like, it was great. It was great. It was a large group for having had, this is our first live call back. In after the new year, we had a 2-week break. We had a good large group, which is a good sign after the holidays. And she's like, okay, awesome. And I was like, yeah. And lots of people mentioned the sound quality. And so that was exciting. And I was like, what did you think? And she was like, yeah, I don't know. It sounded like pretty much the same to me, I guess. I guess it was good. And I was like, what? There's no echo compared to before. There's no. And she was like, oh, and then I told her about what you had said and she was laughing. She's like, oh, I'll have to notice more. So then she did the editing to put up the replay. And I made sure to be there over her shoulder so I could be like, do you hear this difference? And she's like, yeah, I guess I do. And I was like, come on.
I know.
Be more excited.
I do think so. So there's some people who just notice these things. And then it also depends on what playback device you have. Like if you're listening on your laptop speakers in an echoey room, it might be way harder to tell than if you're listening on high fidelity headphones. You know what I mean? And so there's also that. But I believe that there's kind of this subconscious effect where it's like you don't notice when it sounds good. You notice when it sounds bad.
True.
And yeah, just having that kind of clean, direct audio, I think subconsciously people just connect with it and can connect with the content without thinking about, oh, his setup sounds a little tinny. Oh, it sounds like he's on a Zoom call or
right.
whatever.
And sometimes
be, right?
you have to like expend energy because sometimes it can be really bad. Like if you listen to a podcast and they happen to be in a certain, environment and they don't have the equipment and stuff, and you're sort of using energy to kind of listen harder.
Yeah.
Right. And it just kind of, and I know, because thinking about the podcasts that I like to listen to the most, like I got to say, the ones I come back to are the ones that are pro.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for how it can upgrade the, what we're doing here.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the listeners will benefit. And that's an exciting way to kick off the new year for sure.
Definitely.
Today, speaking of the new year, I thought it would be great, and I think we did this last year as well. I'm actually not 100%.
Yeah, we
sure.
did like a review.
Yeah, kind of like a state of the Cruise Elite podcast, where we can kind of look back and see how things have been going, and then also think a little bit about what's going to be coming up in 2026.
Yeah, it was cool because I ended up having, so I went on my notepad on my phone and I searched for the notes that I had taken last year for the same year in review.
Oh, that's
and I had them. So I was like, oh, cool. That's a nice little reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a heck of a year, or 2025 was a heck of a year. So there's definitely stuff to talk about.
Well, yeah, let's get into it. So I guess just to kind of start off, like, how would you characterize this past year for Cruise Elite?
So it's easy to characterize it because it is by a long shot. 2025 was the most successful year that Cruise Elite has ever had. Like no
amazing.
comparison. Yeah, no comparison, just by a long shot. So it was a very exciting year, and there's lots of reasons why. There was a lot of growth, across social media platforms. There was a lot of growth in our courses and in our community, and I think a lot of growth with Alicia and I in the clarity that we're getting about what we really want to offer people.
Yeah.
And, what can we do to, support people in the community. And we're getting to know our community more. I mean, it's starting to feel like friends. We've got such an awesome core group. And the interesting thing about this kind of online business that we have is I think back to only 3 or 4 years ago when we were really struggling to have the clarity that we needed to move forward. And people don't realize, but even when you're seeing an online business, especially like a small business like we have, develop, and maybe they have a large following on social media, it doesn't mean that the actual business has taken shape yet.
Yep.
Right. And that's kind of where we were like 4 years ago. And so even though we were having growth, we were still struggling to figure out what direction to go in. And the neat thing about comparing kind of that time to now is that because we have our community and they've become friends and we have that core group, our community, our audience is guiding us into the right decisions. And we can simply just ask them, like, hey, what do you guys think about this idea? And we get really nice feedback, really constructive feedback. Whereas before we couldn't do that. And you have to be careful, especially when you're in a state of development and you're gaining a lot of traction across platforms. It's very easy to make the wrong decisions because you would not believe how many people try to pull you in the direction that they want. And it's not always the direction that you want. People say, hey, create this program, create this thing, right? And I promise I'll buy it. I promise I'll buy it. And you can easily get distracted. And so part of our growth in the last 2 years especially was that we reached a point where we could draw appropriate boundaries and stick to what we knew was right for us and for the business. And that has been huge. So I think that's a big part of why 2025 was so successful.
Yeah. And is kind of that core that you're focusing on, is that just more education, more like long form education, or how would you describe it?
So when I say core, and this is a good distinction to make for people who are just kind of starting to listen now and kind of understand what we do. When I say core group, what I actually mean is inside our tight-knit community of students who are taking our courses and then continuing in our membership. Okay. And so that would be different from just, who's following us on social media. I actually mean like the people we actually have as students. So that's who I'm referring to when I say core group.
Yeah, no, I mean in terms of like your focus.
Oh, our focus. Like in what way?
So you were just saying, like you learn to kind of listen to what you and Alicia believe should be your core focus as opposed to getting distracted.
Gotcha.
And I'm just curious, like, how would you characterize what that focus is?
Yeah. So right now, that focus has been actually the main part of that focus has been figuring out how to upgrade our membership to support the students who are coming through our courses. So that has been a big change in 2025, actually. So originally, our monthly membership was open to the public, and you could sign up, and pay a monthly fee. And I would do live calls, and you would get to be a part of those live calls if you wanted. But then we also had like workouts and things that people could go through. And we shifted in 2025. One of the things I talked about in that episode we did, a year-end review, was that we were going to be revamping the membership to support the people coming through the courses. Because with neuro, it's just so vast. There's so much to learn, and you have to give people an opportunity to continue their education. Because if you just run a 12-week course, a 16-week course, sure, you're going to learn stuff, but like good luck really figuring out how to apply it. Because this is a lifelong practice. This is not like the stuff we do is not take a 16-week course, master the protocols and move on. That's not what it is. So we realized that we had to create something that was going to help support people in their continued learning so that they got the foundations and the advanced tools coming through our courses, but then they could then lean on the membership for continued ed. And what we've done as one of the major upgrades in the membership is we now are focusing on case studies. So students can actually submit case studies either for them. It could be about them, or it could be about a client that they're working with. For example, I did one yesterday, and it was kind of cool because one of our core, members, who's not a health and movement professional, decided to submit a case study on their mom, and they were helping their mom through some different pain issues and balance issues and stuff. And so we did a whole case study breakdown on that, kind of went over a history. She even submitted videos. So we did a gait analysis. We did different comparisons with that. We looked at a couple of videos of eye movements and some of the different assessments that we teach in the courses, broke it down. The group kind of gets to share a conversation about what we see. And then we talk about what ideas to move forward with. And the community has been loving that.
Yeah.
So we've been going hard with that, and that's been a huge upgrade to the membership. So that's really, I think, a lot of where our core focus has been for our students.
Yeah, I can only imagine just how helpful it is because, we talk about this stuff on these podcasts, and I often go away thinking I know more than I do. And then when a friend has something going on, I'm like trying to think like, is there some neuro that I can help with? Suddenly it's like, well,
and that's the same.
How do you begin? And so it touches on the ball, doing this over and over again, reinforcing these ideas, and then having that real case study that you can actually see and go through and discuss with people. I mean, that sounds invaluable.
Totally. And that's honestly how it is for students learning applied neuro. Exactly what you just said. I mean, we've got incredibly intellectual people in these courses. I mean, they're learning so fast, but a lot of people always speak up and say, I've got these concepts in my mind, but as soon as I have a client in front of me and it's go time and I have to think fast and I'm literally governed by a clock, it's tough. Right. And so it's definitely about getting your reps in and seeing other case studies and doing a lot of assessment and observation on people and trying things on clients, but also on yourself.
Mm-hmm. What were some challenges that you encountered over the course of 2025, whether it be with the membership or elsewhere?
Well, it's funny what just popped into my head, because when we did this year in review last year, do you remember how I told a story about having massive website restrictions on Instagram?
Yeah.
Well, in 2025, just for a little context for people that didn't hear that episode, we had some big restrictions on us on Instagram that did not allow us to share our website on the platform, which is definitely not a good thing when you're trying to, talk to people about your course offerings during like an enrollment period in the direct messages. And then they're like, okay, awesome, I'm super interested. Like, can you send me more information? And then you have to be like, no. And so I can't, because if I post the website in the DMs, it's going to get flagged by Instagram. And, it's kind of a scary thing because, with anyone who has a following on social media probably has a similar stress that I have, but like you could wake up tomorrow and Instagram could just decide to close your account.
Yep.
There's no control over that. So you have to be careful. We finally found out why we had those restrictions early on when some new software came out, I guess you would call it. There was like an auto message thing where, in fact, I believe Meta even owns it now, which was part of the confusion, I think, early on. But we were one of like the first people to use this thing. Long story short, we paid to use some auto-generated, I don't know, what do you call them? Like when in the DMs, when if somebody were to
autoresponder?
Yeah,
maybe?
It's like an auto response thing. And like we had it set up so like if you messaged, this thing would come up and say, hey, this is the cruise bot. Like, how can I help you? Or we would do like a keyword thing in a post. So if you're interested in joining this free masterclass, comment free masterclass, and we'll send you, the links that you need for that. And so we started using that, and it was early on when this thing had been bought out, I think, by Meta. And long story short, because we were using that, even though we were paying for it, we were using that. What happened is because we kept sending out the same auto-generated message to people, which was a link to, I think, maybe our free masterclass when it was time to sign up, Instagram flagged us as being a spam account because we were sending the same message, which is the point of the auto-generation thing.
Yeah,
so
the service does.
So it was super confusing, and then we couldn't get customer service because that's not a thing. Anyways, those restrictions got lifted halfway through 2025 and just in time for marketing our free masterclass, which was awesome. So we're in the clear. We can send people our website. That was a major challenge. And we didn't know if it was ever going to go away. Because like I said, we couldn't get customer service, but it's gone away. And so that's great. And when you asked about challenges, that one was a big one that finally we've moved past.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
You can send your website to people that want to go to your website.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Did you notice a big difference in traffic or signups based on that?
Yeah, it was good. So it was interesting. So we decided to bail on the whole auto-generated thing because
I can imagine.
It's just too sketchy to think about. Like we can't have that happen again.
Yeah.
And so in our minds, we were like, well, are we really going to have the signups that we need for this free masterclass? Are we going to get the views? Because you can have a large following on Instagram, but it doesn't mean people are seeing your stuff. That's a whole nother topic, right? All your followers do not, like not even close, see your content. So that was a thing. It's like, well, are we going to be in trouble here if we don't use it? We decided not to use it. We also decided that using that auto generation actually created more noise and actually brought us more cold leads for our offerings.
So people that wouldn't be interested, really,
because it's easy to plug in a keyword.
Yeah,
it's just like okay, masterclass, but then they don't show up because they forgot they even sent the keyword. So we were like, you know what? Everything we do, like we don't pay for advertisements. Everything's always been very organic. We want to have a very ethical business. I never want to be viewed as an influencer and, all of that stuff that happens on social media. We're going to stick to our values here, and let's do away with that whole keyword thing anyway. And I think it's going to bring us people who are genuinely more interested anyway. And it did. And they have to put in a little bit more effort. If they're generally interested, they actually have to go find your offering, in some cases, even leave the platform, which can be very challenging to get someone to leave the platform and go check something else out.
Yeah.
And we did that and it was successful. We're happy about that. And so at this point, we'll be happy not using it.
You mentioned changes to the membership to support your dojo members. Have you made changes to the courses themselves over this past year?
Yeah, actually, you made some large ones. So, a couple of things. In 2025, we decided to offer an entirely new course. So originally, we just had the Neuro Dojo, and it was really tough to get through all the information because there was so much. But we also realized we were leaving out some important things that we wanted to be in the curriculum. So we actually ended up creating a totally separate offering called Neuro Foundations. So it was a 12-week foundations course, and that was fantastic. So now we had our foundations course, and then you could take foundations, and then that would lead you into what we call our advanced course, the Neuro Dojo. So that was the biggest change that we made, and that was very successful. I am really happy about that because we've had lots of people now begin with the foundations course and then also take the Neuro Dojo. And the speed at which they are learning the material and applying it is unbelievable. So we're really happy about that. So that was the biggest change in terms of the courses. And then inside the Neuro Dojo, there were small upgrades to material. We went a little bit deeper actually in the Neuro Dojo. We started going deeper into the neurology of vision training. We started bringing a lot more just in advanced theory into the course and teaching people more about specific pathways. Right. And so it definitely having the foundations course allowed us to even make the Neuro Dojo more advanced, which was exciting.
That makes sense because you were basically, foundations, you were focusing on like the key fundamental concepts. I imagine it would be things like the threat bucket, the neural hierarchy, like kind of stuff like that, where we're getting the big picture. And then
it's actually a really good. So if you're listening to the podcast, right, the podcast is kind of where it starts, and then the foundations course comes next. So that's exactly what's inside it. And we basically teach all the most important tools, like the ones that we consider foundational. And this is an important thing for people to hear, those who are interested in taking the course at some point. A lot of times we get emails during enrollment period where people are like, hey, I am a chiropractor of 30 years or a massage therapist of 15 years or a physical therapist. Can I skip the foundations and just take the advanced course? It's important to know that it's called foundations, but that does not mean beginner, right? We have never met anybody that we think should skip the foundations, even if they have extensive education. We have a lot of highly educated people coming into the courses, but foundations means these are the best foundations for the new galaxy we're about to take you into. It doesn't mean that it's like a basic material. You have not learned it in school. Put it that way. Even if we've had, doctors coming through the program, and none of this was even close to offered when they were in school, and really still isn't. So just, keep that in mind. Foundations is what we just feel are the most important tools to begin with. And then the Neuro Dojo goes deeper into the theory and the why and the structures of the brain, pathways, that kind of thing.
So just out of curiosity, do you think if people take the foundations course, are they very likely to continue on in Neuro Dojo, or is it more like these are now like the professionals, the clinicians that end up going down the Neuro Dojo route?
If people take the foundations, they are very likely to take the Neuro Dojo.
That's awesome.
It's hard to stop. Like it is so
learn, right?
It's so gratifying and so rewarding and so fun. I mean, I've said it many times on the podcast, like applied neuro has kept me in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just this constant lifelong journey of learning. People love it. I mean, this is wild. Think of this. I can think of 2 people in our community who came into the courses, started with the foundations and then took the Neuro Dojo. And actually somewhat recently have told me they want to make a career shift into doing this work. That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
And just so cool. So it's rewarding and just so much fun. And we literally are having some people that, had no idea what they were in for. They're like, this sounds interesting. They have a passion for learning about health and performance, but all of a sudden they want to do this work professionally, which is pretty cool. One of the things I actually forgot to write down that I just thought of now is that one of the ideas that we have that we're currently working on is building a network of students that have taken our courses who want to be on a list that we can publicly post, because I get DMs every day of people who are looking for practitioners that do this kind of work.
Yep.
And so, we want to be able to support our community and help our students find work, find clients. And that'll be one way that we can do that.
So is this sort of like a certification?
It's not concept? A certification at this time, but, we can at least say these people, here's how you contact them, have been through our educational curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I do feel for a large segment of the population, they're just not going to go through the time it takes to learn applied neurology. It's too tall of a mountain to climb. And if you don't have the intrinsic interest, right? Like it's not for everybody to learn. Maybe concepts, but in terms of actually being able to solve kind of complex problems, having that individual attention would be huge.
For sure. I mean, it's wild. Somebody DM'd me 2 days ago commenting on a post that I'd put up on Instagram using what's called, we've talked about them on the podcast before, something called Hemifield glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Little do-it-yourself Hemifield glasses where we put some tape on some glasses in a specific configuration based on visual system pathways. And basically we use it as a tool for improving, whatever goal we have. And this person had seen that post and they were really intrigued by it. And they DM'd me and they were like, how come I've seen a neurologist, a neuro something or other, they were all titles. I can't remember the exact titles, but they all had neuro behind them.
Uh-huh.
And they mentioned 3 neuro professionals in the healthcare system. They said, how come something like this I've never seen, or how come it has never been recommended to me? So, and it's like a full stop for me. I'm like, man, like there's still a long way to go. And kind of like what you were saying, not everyone is willing to climb that mountain. And sometimes, especially in healthcare, there's even restrictions, right? There's just so many things to consider. Do you really want to put your time and effort into bettering yourself and your tools and your skills? And some people say yes, but many people say no. I'm going to continue doing things the way that I am doing them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's too bad. But, in the long run, hopefully we can be part of a shift, where people are making the choice to better their education and improve their skills so that more people can have access to this kind of information.
What are some things that you've learned over this past year?
I'll tell you what, kind of overlapping with challenges. We had some big challenges personally, our family, that involved our health. So just to kind of give people some context on this. So one of the exciting things back in June, actually, we moved.
Yeah.
So, and that was a big upgrade for us. So we had lived in a place nearby. We didn't move far away. We're in the same town, but we've wanted to move, and we haven't been able to. It just financially was not possible, really. And we got to the point where it was, but it was very challenging. In fact, one of the reasons we got to the point, it started out as a stressful situation because we actually were notified by our landlord that they weren't going to be renting to us anymore. We rented from a family who owned the place that we lived in, and they were going to be using it for family. So they weren't going to rent it anymore. And so we were scrambling. Okay. And it was like, oh man, like a lot of things go through your mind, especially when you're working from home. It's like, well, we got to find a place. We got to find a place now. It's got to be the right place. It's got to have the space. Man, we need a place where I can do content. We want, it's just, there's a lot. And man, by some kind of godsend, because there were not many options, we weren't finding anything. The market was still ridiculous, and we were going to rent and at this point. And so just out of nowhere, this place falls out of nowhere and ends up on like Zillow or something. Alicia was searching, and Alicia sent it to me, and she's like, this place just popped up. And I looked at it and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I'm not totally sure. Like there was some quirks, and we're like, we should go look at it. Let's just go look at it and see. And so we went and looked at it and ended up really liking it. And it was like a little small. We're like, okay, we could probably make this work. There's a lot of positives here. Okay. Now here's the big positive. So I called this a challenge. The reason why things were challenging, we wanted to get out of there as well, is because the place we were living in was basically a dump. Okay. We ended up kind of, we thought when we first got that place, it was going to be very temporary for us.
Right.
Then COVID hit, the market crashed, everything got weird. There was no longer rentals. The housing market went crazy, and everything was super expensive. And we just kind of ended up getting like stuck. Right. So making this move, this upgrade would be really good for us. And on top of that, what we discovered is that the 6 years that we lived in this dump, we were exposed to toxic levels of mold. Okay. Which didn't come as a surprise to us because we were feeling like crap. A lot of different symptoms and things that we kind of knew what was going on. We knew the environment was not good, but we were stuck there. So we did the best that we could to fend this off as much as we could. And here's what happened. So we decided to take that place and begin to rent that place. We moved in June, and it's an amazing upgrade. The place is brand new. It was built in November beforehand. Only one person had lived in it, and they'd only lived in it for 3 months before something happened. They had to break their lease and take a job somewhere. And so this place just fell out of the sky for us, literally. And it's been amazing. It's beautiful in the mountains, up on a hill. We've got mountain views.
You go out hiking, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's right. It's awesome. Like the views, and we don't have a ton of neighbors. It's private in the way that we would want it to be, and we've got a yard for our daughter, and amazing sunsets to look at on the regular, and it's been great. So anyway, what happened was when we moved, it was a challenging thing because I basically physically moved our stuff to this new place, like single-handedly for basically a month, because we were overlapping a little bit, and we thought that if we could move it little by little, it was going to be easier for us. And so that's what we did. And then we had one big like official moving day where we just took the large pieces.
I'm having flashbacks to my own
really?
situations like that. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, that move really was tough for me physically, and in this moldy, toxic environment, especially because I had to go into some of the areas, like we had some sheds outside that were really bad, and I had to go in there and threw out probably 95% of what was in those sheds, and Anyway, it was a whole process. When we finally got settled into this new place, it's just a great environment. It's up on a hill. We have direct sunlight 100% of the time. It's dry and it's brand new. Mm-hmm. So we're very fortunate that we are able to now come into an environment like this where we have the opportunity to actually heal our bodies from this mess. It's as if our bodies knew there was a change in environment and decided it was time to detox. So there was a short window of time where we felt a lot better. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. We're going to move forward. Like, I definitely am feeling better from getting out of that environment. And then all of a sudden, shit hit the fan and our bodies were detoxing much more, immobilizing the mold issue. And we started feeling even worse. So that prompted us to get some professional help. So we're working with a dietitian, and we've been doing this now for a couple of months. And we're on an extensive supplement protocol, detox protocol. We're doing lots of stuff. We're making lifestyle changes, and it's going very well. It's like any process when you're trying to improve your health. It's not linear by any means. So, you'll have streaks of a week where you're like, yeah, I'm feeling really good. And then you'll have 1 or 2 days where you just absolutely crash. And some of the symptoms that I deal with when that happens is like really strong fatigue. Fatigue turns into like depression. You're like immobilized, dude. Like, it's bizarre. I'm like kicking ass one day, and then I'm on the couch and I can't find a reason to get myself up. Like, it's wild fatigue. Nothing like, I've never experienced anything like this before. This is a beast. This is a beast I've never experienced.
So you don't think it's like seasonal or
it's
that?
Oh no, this is wild, wild levels of fatigue and depression that come like in a wave. It's very difficult to just, mobilize yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm past, I think, a lot of those days. In fact, this last week, was my best week for sure. One of the things, so we've talked a lot about the threat bucket, right? We talk about how, we got all these factors that go into the threat bucket. And then it's kind of like, if you're dealing with a lot of life threats, eventually it's like, well, here's the straw that's going to break the camel's back kind of thing. And that, I feel like you asked me originally, what did I learn? I learned more about that concept. And this is what happened to me. So people have been following along have heard me say that physically, one of the things that I have conquered in my life that was very difficult was longstanding sacral problems. Guess what came back during this time?
Sacral problems.
Yep. And we talk about how you can overcome issues, but sometimes your system kind of gets reset to whatever the weakest link is.
It's developed like an alarm system.
Exactly.
And it's going to use it. It's going to ring that same alarm when the system's under threat.
Well, that alarm rung like it's never rung before. And listen to this. So we did a podcast together at some point over the summer. It was like, I think it was in August. And I talked about this weird left knee tension that I was starting to feel. And I was like, that's weird. I don't like that. That sort of reminds me of something I don't like. And I remember talking on that podcast and being like, all right, so I dug into Alicia's acupuncture tools and I put a little acupuncture tack on it, which is essentially a needle that you can stick on your skin and go and walk away, do whatever you want to do. And it was quite effective for dealing with this knee tension. And a week later or something, it started coming back. And we went camping. And I was okay during camping. I had a little bit of tension. But then I came home, and after we went camping, I was a mess. Like, when I say a mess, all of a sudden I had radiating symptoms down my leg, and I really couldn't walk. I could get myself to a point where I could walk, but it was like a very inflammatory type pain. And I was like, oh, gosh. All right, just going to start doing my neuro stuff, go through the whole thing. Well, guess what? For the first time in my life, neuro did not work. I could not find a drill to help. And I was like, what is going on? Now, this is before we started working with the dietitian. And this was just before we made this realization that the mold issue had reached into every facet of our life. Okay. So I'm still like in this process where I'm like starting to kind of catch on to this. But I'm like, oh, what did I do? I went through all the same questions that everyone goes through. What did I do? Where did I injure myself? Like,
right.
Like, did this happen during a workout? Like, I'm doing all that stuff. And it got worse and worse and worse, and it would get extremely bad at night. And I was like, oh boy, that's how very intense inflammatory pain behaves, right? The more tired you become, the more intense it gets. So, I mean, for like 2 months, I had this going on, and it was an absolute nightmare. And so I learned, through taking my own history and going over it in my head and figuring this out, that I was having all this inflammatory based, what I guess I would call sciatic pain. It wasn't, if we really break it down, it may not have been like a true sciatic presentation, but radiating discomfort going down my left leg. And really what was happening is I was having deep intestinal inflammatory responses that were then being referred or presented as sciatic symptoms. In the process of all the testing that we did, because we went through a whole gamut of testing, we did blood work, we did saliva tests, we did stool samples, you name it, hair mineral tests. This is how we learned about all these things that we needed to supplement with, because essentially what we learned is that in the time that we were going through this issue with the toxicity at the other place, we had developed gut problems. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there were some other signs that I now understand, some other things that happened because of this, but leaky gut type symptoms, absorption issues, our minerals were depleted. That's something that happens to you at very high points in your life where you have a lot of ongoing stress. You'll burn through minerals very quickly. I became extremely low in sodium, even though I was taking sodium. I was eating so much salt. It would be like the average person would call it medically unsafe. Right. But all my tests came back low sodium. It was wild. I was just burning through minerals like crazy, and they were not balanced. I ended up having heavy metal toxicity, because one of the things that happens when I still have it, it's not gone. I'm still working on all of this. It's going to take a while. But one of the things that happens when your body is dealing with mold is that it becomes less efficient at detoxing things like heavy metals. It's like your body's trying to be careful about how much it mobilizes this problem. And sometimes things even become dormant because it's maybe not the right time to mobilize it, or your body can't handle it necessarily, which I feel is kind of what happened to us, because once we moved, our bodies started dealing with it more. But the goal of doing this supplement protocol that we're on, which the first part of this is to balance out your minerals and kind of get your foundations set before you ask your body to do more detoxing. That's kind of a key thing, because you want to be able to handle it when it happens. So we're in the detox part now, and I think we're winning. We've done some interesting things that have definitely helped. Like I said, the last couple of weeks for me have been my best weeks. So it's been a really interesting journey so far. It's not even close to over. My wife has the same issues, similar, slightly different issues. Our daughter, who's just about to turn 5, is also dealing with it. Probably a little bit better than we are. Thankfully, she's doing quite well. Does struggle with days where she feels fatigue. We now know what that is. But, we're moving in the right direction. One of the things, again, going back to what have I learned this year, is I learned more about something I always tell our students about, when you have underlying health concerns and things like neuro drills don't work, or we talk about, like in the fuel conversation, we talk about maybe something helping but not sticking.
Yeah.
We talk about that kind of thing. Well, I got to really live that. Because all the things I was trying that I was accustomed to helping me, they were not helping. I could not find a high payoff drill. That's never happened to me before in 15 years. And it was scary because it was like, wow, my body is so taxed from what's going on right now that my brain won't invest any energy into allowing me to have a performance shift. And that to me was like a big indication of this sciatic pain I have is not a hamstring problem.
Right.
It's not a piriformis issue. We call it piriformis syndrome if we want. If I had gone to the doctor and started going down that rabbit hole and got like images of my spine and stuff, I'm sure it would have been called sciatica or piriformis syndrome, and who knows what they would have found in those images. But as I was able to piece together the history of what was happening to me, eventually I was able to, get to a point where it's like, I understand what's happening here. Like, I've developed these gut problems. I'm having deep inflammatory issues that are presenting this pain. I get it. And I've got to do something about the underlying health concerns first. And then eventually my body's going to get to a point where, because of more safety, perceived safety and less threat, my brain and body will start being okay with dedicating energy to helping me through drills and exercise. And that is what has happened. I've already experienced that shift now. In the last 3 to 4 weeks, I am now getting great results with specific neuro drills. So I was able to circle back, and I'm doing things now for, I'm doing a lot of spinal cord flossing so a lot of those neuromechanic drills that we've talked about, specifically for sural nerve. Basically what I'm doing is a lot of mobilization for the sacrum. And it is helping unbelievable. Like, I get a little bit better every single day from doing this, whereas before it was like roadblock after roadblock. So it's an indication to me that my inflammation has become much less, right? And I'm moving in the right direction, which is good news.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really glad you're making progress. And like you said, in some ways it's probably good to stay humble in that respect, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is the experience of many people where something's going wrong and they can't figure out what it is or how to fix it.
And it's also scary because for the general population, I mean, you should have seen how much pain I was in. Someone who doesn't have the experience and education will unknowingly just kind of take themselves down that rabbit hole that may not go well for them because of how the medical system is broken. When you're concerned, you have to go get a professional opinion because there's a lot of just in cases. You got to cover your bases. But if you're not careful and you don't get multiple opinions and do your own homework, I mean, I could have gone and got an MRI and they could have seen something wrong with discs or, I've had a lot of problems there in my lifetime. I mean, who knows what they would find. And then all of a sudden I'm blaming the pain I have for what might be seen on an image. And then who knows where you go from there. I mean, a lot of people, that's how they get recommended down the road of surgery so quickly. Right. So it's a very challenging thing to navigate. I'll never know the right, perfect answer for everybody. You can only deal with it the way you think is right. But it was, the whole process has been pretty eye-opening for me. I'm able to understand better the challenges people go through when they have a chronic health problem that is presenting itself in different ways. And it's challenging to figure out all the pieces to that because symptoms are just so good at distracting you and tricking you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's no way I would have been able to go to a doctor and they would have been like, hey, have you well, they wouldn't have even taken my history. Let's start there.
Right.
They wouldn't have taken my history. So it's not like any doctor was going to be like, what's your gut health like? Like, tell me about other things going on. Just for our listeners, because, I like to share things that have happened to me in case it helps someone else piece together their own history. But one of the odd things that had happened to me, very odd things that had happened to me last spring was I so I had some dental work done, and I had 2 old mercury fillings removed that were put in my mouth when I was like 10 years old, and they were breaking down and they had to come out. And in that process of getting those out, I think I found like my dentist had found like 3 or 4 cavities all at once. I was like, what the hell is happening? I haven't had a cavity in my adult life. What is going on? Now, I did not think, that did not make me go in the moment, oh, I'm having gut problems. Because something weird happens when you're in a state of chronic stress. You lose your cognition to some degree. You're living to stay alive, right? And you're not necessarily able to piece things together perfectly, even if you have experience, right? I take his health histories all the time. I still wasn't able to be like, connect the dot immediately. But now I can. That I've gone a little bit further. I can be like, oh gosh, started getting issues in my mouth because I was having gut problems. I was having absorption issues. I wasn't absorbing my nutrients the way I need to. My minerals became low. And I even discovered that I had a very low grade infection. So bacterial issues, it all can lead to problems in your mouth. So that was another indication. Now, no one's going to ask you.
Coal mine, if you will.
No, no one's going to ask you about your mouth at the doctor when you're there because your butt cheek hurts. You know what I mean? And my dentist, a dentist isn't going to. Some dentists know this stuff and will educate about it, but most won't. Right? So it's very hard for people to navigate this stuff. So that was also, something that shortly after I was able to go, okay, now I get what's going on here. Now I get it. So yeah, it's that's been our biggest challenge. And like I said, we're moving in the right direction and feel good about it. And 2026, the main goal for our family will be to just keep on trucking along here and getting past all of this and improving our health.
Yeah. For this detox process, I'm curious, have you experimented with any like lymphatic drainage when you're feeling super inflamed?
Okay, so at the peak of my most intense pain with that sciatic pain thing I'm talking about, I said no tool was working. I should circle back and clarify. Lymphatic work was the only thing that was keeping me going.
Nice.
But it was not fixing anything. Yeah. So what would happen is I couldn't find nerve glides to like knock the pain way down. Vision drills weren't doing it. Vestibular drills weren't doing it. Joint mobility just hurt. Like nothing. I couldn't find the entry point. I started doing a lot of lymph every single day, 2-3 times a day at times, depending. And what that was laying down. I had my feet elevated. I was vibrating specific lymphatic areas and putting pressure on my left, basically like pec clavicular area. Yeah. And doing some like pressure plus traction to promote some, fluid movement of fluids. And it was pretty neat because I'd wake up in the morning and be wrecked, couldn't get going, couldn't walk. And then I'd go downstairs and grab the vibration device, get a kettlebell, put it on my left pec, get my feet elevated, start doing some breathing work and some vibration. And I would hit the different lymphatic points in a specific order. And after about, maybe 8 to 10 minutes of that, I'd stand up and I would have about a 30-40% improvement that would last, several hours maybe, to kind of help me go on with my day. And then it would kind of wear off and the whole process would start over again. So I was using that to kind of stay in the game. And that was useful, but yeah, it was tough to find anything else for a while.
You mentioned breathing. I was gonna ask also about like any vagus nerve stimulus.
Yep. So I did some vagus work too, specifically in the evening and also paired with the lymph work. And the way I was doing that was with some different breathing exercises. I did some diaphragm stretches, but I also took the vibration device and I slowly, after I did the lymphatic areas, I slowly applied the vibration from basically like if you're familiar with the SCM muscle, which is that big neck muscle here on the front of the neck that you can kind of grab. And if you were to rotate your head, it pops out. You can see it. I took the vibration. I basically would work down the SCM to like my clavicle. And I found that to be a very good parasympathetic type drill for me, that it may be very vagal in nature. The vagus nerve runs it runs in that direction, not far from that area. And, I can't say, how much is it stimulating the vagus nerve? I don't know, but I go by my response, and my response was very parasympathetic. And that tells me that it was very vagal in nature. I did do a little bit of vagus nerve stimulation via the skin distribution on the ear. It was mixed for me. I wasn't totally sure. The vibration on the neck seemed to be more useful.
Interesting.
How much of that was lymph work opposed to direct vagal stimulation, I don't know, but that's okay. I don't need to know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Just need to know if it helped. It did, so I kept it up. I was using my red light too. And so what happened was I got to a point after we had really dialed in the supplements and we had done this detox protocol. We did something really interesting called the Silver Protocol, where I was introduced to this new product. I don't know if I'm going to get it right. It's essentially like positively charged water molecules, essentially, and silver. And anyway, not an expert at what this is or what it does really, but basically we went through this whole protocol where we had to drink this stuff and lay in specific positions to get it to coat your stomach in different areas. Yeah. And it was for dealing with like low-grade infection. And we did that not too long ago. And I got to say, right now, I'm noticing a big difference. So one of the other dietary changes that we made that was very useful is just eliminated gluten. For me, because my labs had shown that I had developed a mild gluten sensitivity. I've never had that at any point in my life. But when your system is under this level of stress, a lot of times that's when gluten sensitivities come out. Mm-hmm. And, people want to blame the food, right? Okay, fine. Blame the food, but it's really your guts aren't working. So my guts weren't working the way they needed to. So I developed that issue and we eliminated gluten, and that was very powerful right away. My energy had improved right away from that. Yeah. So a lot of little changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Diet is definitely another mountain to climb I feel like you could spend a lifetime on that as well.
It's true.
Well, shifting gears a bit.
Yeah.
What do you think was the most popular or the most important neuro concept of 2025 for Cruise Elite?
Oh man, neuro concept. That's a tricky one.
Maybe something that you emphasized more this past year that you hadn't, or something that just people seem to latch onto, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think what I noticed in our course in the Neuro Dojo was that we had really started to emphasize if you remember back to our neurology of movement episode, where we talked about, just basic voluntary movement and how, for example, when I move my left hand and I make a decision to do that, that stimulates the right cortex, right? And the right cortex will act on the right side of the brainstem, the right side of the PMRF. And we went deeper in this year's Neuro Dojo into that pathway. And what I noticed with students is that they really started to figure out how they could directly start to work on a person's brainstem by stimulating the cortex in different ways. And this sounds kind of simple, but the reason it's significant is because when you start learning applied neurology concepts, you generally first attach to the very logical ones. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, when I do a tibial nerve glide, I stimulate the tibial nerve. Right? Like that's very logical. And then if I trace that nerve back to the spinal cord and I know where it originates in the sacrum, okay, I just went one step further and now I understand how doing a tibial nerve glide, even if I moved my foot, could affect my sacrum, right? And it's harder than you think to get people to that thinking, right? So when you present structures of the brain, it's even harder, right? We talk about what tool sets we have to go after the different structures. And what I notice students really latching onto is that the more cortical activation that we created in some way, and we brought a lot of new tools into the curriculum for activating the cortex, the more PMRF activation we could get as a downstream effect of that.
Interesting.
And what that led to was students kind of having this aha moment where it's like, okay, so visual saccades, when we do rapid eye movements back and forth from one target to another, stimulates the cortex. If I know what side of the cortex stimulates the most, I can understand how I can get brainstem activation as a result of that. And from there, we started talking about how the different structures in the brainstem work together to find balance. Like the top of the brainstem is where the midbrain lives, and we look at that as kind of the accelerator. That's kind of the beginning of the sympathetic nervous system. And then beneath that, we have the pons and we have the medulla. All of these divisions of the brainstem are working together to find balance. And a lot of what we do when we're trying to figure out the right drills for people is through testing, trying to figure out, okay, do I need to activate the midbrain? Do I need to activate the pons? Do I need to activate the medulla? Do I need to inhibit the midbrain, maybe? And so in this year's NeuroDojo course, a lot of light bulbs went off with how we can indirectly start to focus on the brainstem, which is super important because it's involved in pain inhibition, it's involved in muscle tone, it's involved in autonomics.
Yep.
So it's a huge target for movement problems, pain issues, and autonomic issues. So rather than just being like, okay, let's do sensory stimulation on the face to activate trigeminal nerve, and that activates the pons because part of the trigeminal nerve originates in the pons, right? That's pretty logical. You can get people there relatively fast, but now we might be able to take it further and go, well, if we activate the cortex, because structures act on one another, we can get to that brainstem too. Mm-hmm. And that was really neat. So our students started doing really high level applied neuro, and this group was lights out, fantastic. We just wrapped it up in at the beginning of December, and yeah, they were lights out. The gait analysis, oh, I don't want to forget that. The gait analysis is off the charts with this group.
Yeah,
we have students looking at gait now and analyzing it, and what they're saying, it's exactly what I'm saying. Yesterday, I told you we did that case study. One of our students who's not a movement professional has submitted gait videos of their mom. They gave me what they thought was happening in gait. It was perfect. And I think that's so cool because gait is actually the hardest thing to learn, I think. There's a lot going on in gait. So being able to kind of sift through all that stuff and be able to do these neurologic gait assessments, I mean, that's a big achievement in the learning of this material. So, man, that was another big highlight. So many of the students are crushing it with gait assessment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm also like thinking like, man, that mom's going to get really good advice soon.
Yeah.
Her life's going to get better soon. That's awesome.
I know. I hope to do a part 2. I told her, let's do a part 2.
Yeah.
One of the cool gait comparisons that we went over was just walking in the clear with, just a normal gait assessment. And then she shot another video of walking, a gait assessment with a cognitive task. And so what she had the mom do, is one of the things that we teach, is recite out loud every other month. And what this does is it kind of distracts you from your performance gait, right? You're not really able to walk in any special way voluntarily. You just get more of the person's reflexive patterning. Mm-hmm. But if they're challenged by cognitive tasks, you'll actually see their gait deteriorate. And that's what we saw in this video. So what we learned by the comparison is that the cognitive load decreased the efficiency of this person's walking. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the signs that we know we have to get them more cortical activation, somehow without it deteriorating what they're doing or increasing their pain. So this fantastic student of ours went ahead and did another video after trying a very specific vision drill with them using an app on the phone that we teach people how to use in the course called an OPK strip, which looks like a series of bars, like red and white bars that are basically going across the screen at a certain speed. And if you look at the screen, what happens is your eyes will lock onto one of those bars and you'll end up doing a smooth pursuit as you follow the bar. And then when the bar runs out of space on the screen, your eyes have no choice but to then snap back to their starting position and pick up another bar before following it again. Mm-hmm. And so when you follow the bar to smooth pursuit, when you snap your eyes back, it's a saccade. And so what you have is, what we talked about on this call, is that pursuing right is a very strong right cortical stimulus. And saccading left is a very strong right cortical stimulus. So by combining the two visual skills, we get a much stronger stimulus than maybe if we were just doing one of them. And because it was done on the app, it becomes more reflexive because you're responding to the bars on the screen and the movements become very fast and very small. Mm-hmm. Actually looks like a bunch of little ticks if you were. Yeah. Your eyes are just kind of going crazy. Anyways, she had her mom do this drill to the right because she had some reasons for wanting to activate the right cortex. And then she did a gait comparison. Phenomenal. The gait was transformed. The person had more efficiency. The limp was gone. The more stable through the midline, no bobblehead, and increased arm swing, because previously she had shown decreased arm swing on both sides. So by one vision drill, the gait was transformed. And so we got to look at this in the case study that we did in the membership. Normal gait, gait with cognitive tasks, decreasing performance, and then going after the cortex in a very specific way, increasing everything that we wanted to see in gait. So it was really, cool. It was a fun one. Yeah, and it was literally 20 seconds of an OPK strip.
Yeah.
To improve somebody's walking and give them more efficiency with, balance and stuff. So neuro's awesome. It doesn't ever get old.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
What can we expect in 2026 for Cruise Elite? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, there's some things here that I jotted down that I wanted to make sure I mentioned. So for the podcast, we're hoping to bring Alicia on more. Yeah, so we want to start doing that. And so we've got 2 fancy mics now. The other one's got to get set up, but that'll be kind of exciting for 2026. We are currently working on some new branding for Cruise Elite and website upgrades. We actually have a whole new color palette to go with our brand now that we're working on, and working with a graphic designer on that now. So we've got the color palette finalized, and we'll be starting to make some improvements on the website. So that'll be cool.
Are you taking into consideration the color of light and how it affects people's alertness?
Not really, but it's actually a pretty diverse color palette.
Okay.
So yeah, but no, I'm not. So we've got that going on. I got a new camera.
Yeah.
Right. So that's fun. I haven't ventured into the, video content creation with it yet. I'm still kind of working out, just learning some things, and I'm going to be getting a more professional light because I did try to use it the other day and quickly realized without a good quality light, I've been getting away with a lot using my smartphone. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I set this thing up. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to wait till I have a light. So got a new camera, looking forward to starting to use that, at least right now, for YouTube content and for creating some higher quality videos that go into the Neuro Dojo video library. So that's the other thing, is that all winter I'll be focusing now on adding upgraded videos to the Neuro Dojo, replacing some stuff, but mostly adding some stuff. So adding some videos. What we're trying to do is really add some very short, very to the point demonstrations of certain things. Like one of the libraries I'm going to be working on is like a cranial nerve testing library where you can just watch a fast video on and get a refresher on all the different ways to test trigeminal nerve, right? So I'll be doing that, hopefully using the new camera to do it. And we're actually looking to hire a YouTube editor.
Okay.
So it's a good thing to tell our listeners.
Yeah, put that out into the universe.
Yeah, so we're looking for a Tony for YouTube. I don't know if one exists. We put one feeler out in our Instagram stories the other day. I haven't found anyone yet, but hoping we can. And what I'm actually looking for is somebody that can just take my raw files and make them into something good. So I'll be creating educational content for YouTube the same way we always have been. But, I just want somebody who can do the editing process better than we can. And it will also save us some time so we can focus energy in other places. So if anyone knows somebody who might be interested in being that type of YouTube editor, they can email us at contact@cruiseelite.com, and you can just make the subject line YouTube editor. We'd be grateful. We're on the hunt.
Awesome.
The last couple things here would be for our courses. One of the upgrades that we are planning on making, or at least experimenting with for the new year here inside the Neuro Dojo, is going to be creating more breakout opportunities for students to practice on calls. So previously, I've done a lot of lecturing and I do a lot of demonstrating. But one of the things that's kind of missing, because obviously this is remote learning, one of the challenges of that is that you don't necessarily get to work with other people in the group to just have these little experiences as you're learning the material. That is very valuable. I really liked that I had that experience when I did in-person, learning. So what we're trying to do is possibly experiment with like some conference rooms in the courses where you can just kind of group up with, 4 people, 5 people or something, go in a conference room and try something, right? Where I basically guide people through the breakout. Here's what you're going to try. Here's what you're going to assess. Things that we can do, remotely. And I think that could be really valuable, right? Not only for helping to build the community so people can, meet each other, but there's something very valuable, at least for me. My experience was when I'm learning a concept and then I get to go and mess with it and try something, it kind of solidifies the learning in my mind a little better. And then I notice like later on, I'm like, oh yeah, I have this very vivid memory of trying this drill and getting this result. And when that happens, it's like I never forget it. So I'm trying to figure out some ways we might be able to create some more learning opportunities like that where people can team up to do it. Yeah. So kind of excited.
Also with a course of, I don't know how many people, 30, 60 people, being able to engage more proactively in like a smaller setting is probably great.
Definitely.
Just in and of itself,
Yeah, I think so. And then the last thing was organizing the course a little bit differently. We're going to be organizing it into modules. Right now, we just kind of have lectures that you can find in a library, and they go in order, but we're going to be building modules that have attached specific videos to the modules, whereas right now we have one large library of videos. And so people can watch a lecture and they watch the lectures in a certain order, but then all of our videos are kind of living in one area. So by building a module, I think it'll organize things a little bit better and direct people much more quickly to some of the key videos that kind of go with the concepts that we shared. So that'll be neat.
Yeah, no, it sounds like the curriculum is really has really come together into something very, I want to say like textbook, but like learning focused, right? It's like everything is kind of getting put in a place where it can have maximum effect.
Yeah, it is. It is. So it's good. It's very, very good. Feeling really good about it.
Man, that's so exciting. It's been a heck of a year. From my vantage point, I've definitely seen, we've talked about this stuff on the podcast and offline as well, like with the move and with some of the, health concerns, and Alicia threw out her back. And
oh yeah, that's how we started. Oh, by the way, the back throwing out situation, right? I mean, that was also probably attached to this whole mold issue I described. Yeah. She was able to resolve that quite quickly, which is great. But, it's funny, that threat bucket, man.
Yeah.
It's an interesting real concept.
But yeah, seeing you guys kind of going through that, and then also seeing, just the Neuro Dojo and the community grow and become more refined. It's been really awesome to watch from my vantage point. So I'm super excited about 2026. You've got
same here,
some brand new gear. It's sounding great. Gear. It's looking great.
Yes.
And, I'm excited for what's going to come. Do you have anything else you want to leave us with?
Really just a thank you to everybody. We've had, I'm just kind of looking at the notes too. I forgot to mention, we had like 650,000 followers on Instagram in 2025. Wow. I mean, that's wild.
Yeah.
Our YouTube is now starting to build too, which is great. Much more competitive platform. A much slower growth, but we're over. We're almost up around 25,000 subs over there, which is awesome. Because really, I've only been doing YouTube as long as I've been doing the podcast. So, and I haven't been nearly as consistent as I want to be. So, part of my goal for this new year is to do even more over on YouTube. That's part of the reason we're looking for the YouTube editor.
Yep.
Because if I can just create raw files and boom, zip them over to somebody and know that that's going to happen, man, I'm much more motivated to go do it again.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. You do all the editing for this. I mean, this is unbelievable amount of work for you. So yeah, lots of new followers, and we've had an increase in listenership on the podcast. It's like 8 to 10 times this year. So man, that's exciting, because this is where I feel like I get to share the best content, so yeah, I just really want to thank people for their support over all platforms and all those little things that you do, watching content, listening to content. Maybe you decide to like something, send it to a friend. Even though it seems small, that is really what makes our world go round, those little actions. So we're very grateful for all of the ways that you do support us. And we look forward to bringing you all of the best content that we can in this upcoming year.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. It's been an exciting year. Thank you for coming along with us. A few announcements just before we get off here. Number one is we have our free masterclass coming February 17th. Okay, this is the first time that I'm announcing that, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for the free masterclass. And then afterwards, we'll run an enrollment. So we have a course enrollment coming in February, so that's exciting. And the unique thing about this next enrollment is that our foundations course will be taught live. So it's taught live once a year. This is your opportunity to get enrolled in foundations and come along for the live experience. We'll be enrolling for both courses like we always do, but that foundations course is 12 weeks long, and it begins in March. So make sure you stay up with the pulse of Cruise Elite across all platforms and listen for what's coming up. And if you haven't done so already, you can get on our email list. And that way, when the enrollment does drop, you will be first to get all of the information that you need on the offerings that we have. Thank you so much for being here, guys. We'll be back soon.